His gaze lingered on her chest, and her breath hitched as the air between them crackled with tension. This wasn't just desire, it was a forbidden fire that neither could resist. How far would they go to quench the undeniable craving? The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow across the living room. I sat curled up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that felt more like a cocoon than a comfort. My heart raced with anticipation. It had been 2 long months since Ethan left for basic training. Each day without him felt like an eternity, filled with longing and uncertainty. I glanced at the clock on the wall, its ticking echoing through the silence of the house. Every tick seemed to mock me, reminding me of how slowly time passed when you were waiting for someone so important. Memories of our last moments together played in my mind like a film on repeat, his deep blue eyes filled with excitement and fear as he stood at the door ready to leave. What does it feel so different now? I whispered to myself, pulling the blanket tighter around my shoulders. The house felt empty without him. His absence had sucked all the warmth from our home. I had spent countless nights staring at the ceiling, wondering what he was doing, if he was safe, and if he thought about me as much as I thought about him. Suddenly, the sound of tires crunching on gravel jolted me from my thoughts. My heart raced as I realized he was finally home. I stood up, adrenaline coursing through me. As I moved toward the window, peering out, I saw his car pull into the driveway. There he was, stepping out with an air of confidence that was both new and familiar. As he approached the front door, a whirlwind of emotions crashed over me. Excitement, anxiety, and an overwhelming sense of protectiveness. Ethan was no longer just my stepson. He was a young man shaped by experiences I could only imagine. Would we still share that same bond? Would we be able to bridge the gap that distance had created? I took a deep breath and opened the door just as he raised his hand to knock. Our eyes locked, and time seemed to freeze in that moment. Everything else faded away. The world outside vanished, leaving only us standing on this threshold. "Hey," he said softly, his voice tinged with nervousness. "Welcome home," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. The moment we embraced was electric, a collision of warmth and familiarity that sent shivers down my spine. His arms wrapped around me tightly as if he were afraid to let go. I could feel the tension in his body. It mirrored my own uncertainty. "I missed you," he murmured into my hair. "I missed you too," I replied, pulling back slightly to look into his eyes. There was something different about him, something deeper that stirred within me. We stepped inside together, and I closed the door behind us with a soft click that felt like sealing away all our past worries. The house was filled with remnants of our shared life, photographs on the walls capturing moments of joy and laughter, but now they felt like echoes from another time. "Do you want something to eat?" I asked, trying to fill the silence with mundane conversation. "Actually," he hesitated, his gaze dropping to the floor before meeting mine again with an intensity that made my heart race. "I want to talk about something." His words hung in the air between us like a fragile thread waiting to snap. My stomach twisted with anticipation. As we moved toward the living room, we settled onto the couch. His presence next to me felt both comforting and electrifying. The air thickened with unspoken words as we sat in silence for a moment. "Too long. What did you want to talk about?" I finally asked, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. Ethan turned to face me fully, his expression serious yet vulnerable. "I've been thinking a lot while I was away about us." My heart raced at his words. They hung heavy in the air between us, like a promise yet to be fulfilled. "I know it's complicated," he continued, "but being away made me realize how much you mean to me." His voice dropped lower as he leaned closer, our knees almost touching. "I've thought about you every day." The intensity of his gaze sent shivers down my spine. There was a depth in those blue eyes that spoke volumes, a longing that resonated added within me. "I've thought about you too," admitted softly, feeling an undeniable pull toward him. "But Ethan, we can't." Before I could finish my sentence, he reached out and gently cued my face in his hand, a gesture so tender yet charged with something more profound than either of us dared to acknowledge. "I know what people might think," he said quietly, "but it feels right when I'm with you. It feels right when I'm with you." In that moment, everything shifted. The world outside ceased to exist. As we leaned closer together, my heart raced as our lips brushed against each other in a tentative kiss that ignited a fire within me, a spark that had been dormant for far too long. As we pulled away from each other breathlessly, reality crashed back, and like an unwelcome wave, my mind raced with doubts and fears. What were we doing? This wasn't just some fleeting moment, it was crossing boundaries we had never dared to approach before. What if this is wrong? I whispered, searching his eyes for answers. Ethan's expression softened. There was vulnerability there that mirrored my own fears. I don't care what anyone thinks, he replied firmly but gently. All I know is that being away made me realize how much I need you. His words struck deep within me, a yearning for connection stifled for far too long. But could we really pursue this? The consequences loomed large in my mind, like dark clouds threatening rain. I don't want to hurt anyone, I said softly, feeling tears prick at my eyes. We won't hurt anyone if we're it. Ethan replied earnestly, I want this, I want you. His sincerity cut through my doubts like a beacon of light amidst darkness. It illuminated parts of myself hidden away for years, desires buried beneath layers of responsibility and societal expectations. In that moment of clarity amidst chaos, I realized something profound. Life was too short for regrets or what-ifs. If this connection was real and deep down inside me, I knew it was, then perhaps it deserved exploration rather than avoidance. Okay, I whispered, finally feeling liberation wash over me as those simple words escaped my lips. Ethan's face broke into a smile so radiant it lit up the entire room. His joy mirrored mine as we embraced once more. This time it felt different, more powerful than before, as if we were sealing our unspoken promise with every heartbeat shared between us. As we pulled back slightly again but remained close enough for our foreheads to touch, a gesture so intimate yet innocent, I knew this was just the beginning of our journey together, a journey filled with uncertainty but also hope for what lay ahead. I don't know where this will lead us, I said softly but firmly. Neither do I, Ethan replied gently but confidently, but whatever happens next, let's face it together. With those words hanging between us like an unbreakable bond forged through vulnerability and honesty, I took his hand in mine, a simple act filled with promise, and together we step into uncharted territory filled with possibilities waiting just beyond our reach. Yet even as excitement coursed through me at this new chapter unfolding before us, I couldn't help but feel pangs of hesitation creeping back in, like unwelcome guests at a party meant for celebration. What would people think? What would my father, my husband, say if he knew? The weight of these questions pressed heavily upon my shoulders as reality began to settle back into place around us. Ethan must have sensed my internal struggle because he squeezed my hand gently before speaking again. You're thinking too much, I know, admitted sheepishly. It's just this is all so new. He nodded thoughtfully before leaning closer again until our foreheads touched once more, a grounding gesture amidst swirling emotions threatening to overwhelm us both. Just take it one step at a time, he whispered softly against my skin, his breath warm against my cheeks sent shivers down my spine. Once more a reminder that despite everything swirling around us, we were still here together in this moment, and nothing else mattered right now except how we felt about each other. As days turned into weeks following Ethan's return home, we found ourselves navigating uncharted waters filled with both joy and uncertainty alike. The thrill of stolen moments shared between us contrasted sharply against lingering doubts. Whenever we usually left our beds by ourselves, Eleanor's door opened and we walked through the door unexpectedly during quiet evenings, during late at night when everyone else had gone off asleep upstairs where they belonged instead. Yet even amidst all chaos surrounding us, I began noticing subtle changes within myself. I felt lighter somehow, as though burdens previously carried upon shoulders had begun lifting, ever since allowing myself embrace feelings long buried deep beneath layers built up over years spent trying to keep everything under control rather than letting go completely, surrendering fully into experience unfolding right before eyes. Instead, through laughter shared between us over silly jokes told late at night while cuddled up close watching favorite shows together, through quiet moments spent simply enjoying each other's presence without needing to say anything at all, I discovered parts myself previously hidden away beneath layers built up over years spent trying to keep everything under control rather than letting go completely, surrendering fully into experience unfolding right before my eyes. And then came one fateful evening when everything changed once again, the night when Ethan finally gathered enough courage to speak truthfully about desires hidden deep within the heart, since first realizing feelings towards me went beyond mere friendship alone. I want more than just kisses stolen here or there, he confessed softly while gazing deeply into eyes searching for understanding. Approval, I want all of you. His words hung heavy between us, like promise waiting fulfillment, and though fear threatened creep back in once again, I found strength within myself, knowing whatever happened next would be worth taking risk, exploring depths, connection forged between two souls willing brave unknowns together side by side no matter what lay ahead. And so began new chapter unfolding before us, filled possibilities waiting just beyond horizon, ready embrace whatever came next, hand in hand, hearts wide open, ready face encouraging others from across the globe as we transcended our fears, limiting beliefs, and lonely moments to join together, united stronger than ever before.